How was that? That was great. Super excited to talk to you two more about the film and just your thoughts on how far things have come and maybe the differences that you saw between when you were filming this and what you're seeing now.
There's lots of differences.
We were just saying we're closer to Joan's age. So now I'm like, 40? It's not so old.
For sure. So following, how does it feel to kind of revisit this piece now? I'm sure there's been many times where you've been watching it, but how did this feel now to both of you just sitting here seeing I'm 35?
It does, and I have to say, as many times as I've seen it, I still get so freaking emotional.
Yeah.
It's like a yearbook, you know?
Yeah, when we did this when is the Keeper of Dates?
2003,
2003. Right.
when we filmed it.
Right, then it released in 2005. 2004.
Was the Toronto Festival. 2005 was Sundance, right?
Yep.
And then Memorial Day,
Yep.
the same year.
Yes.
Keeper of the dates.
We were up against Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you think
But-
about that?
Here we are now, selling out a theater.
That's right.
President's Day weekend.
Lynn and I were putting up flyers down in SGV, trying to get people to come and see the film. Joan was like, I ain't doing that. But Lynn and I were really into it, trying to get the word out. This was the first Asian American romantic comedy gay film, but just it had been such a long time. By the way, I'm moderating this in case you didn't know. Yes, please go ahead.
I love the commentary, especially around Sundance and what it kind of took to get people to come out. So just following the theme of looking at queer movies throughout the years, we look at what's happening on screen as well as like the public perceptions. What was happening? What were people saying during the time of the premiere, during the reviews as they were coming out? What did you kind of see people saying around this film?
Do you want to take us out?
Well, I will say that I remember when that little tidbit was dropped in our lap about us being the first lesbian Asian leads in a movie. We were both like, really? Oh, that's cool, but didn't know that that we were making history and how important that was, because the reception was so warm that it felt like we weren't trailblazing anything. It just felt like we were part of this family already.
Yeah, we were, at that time, at least for me, looking back, it was just so new to even have an Asian female director on the set. And so I was basking in the experience of seeing people who looked like me as my co-star, and being the daughter of Lynn Chen. I was basking in that. I didn't even think about the social, political aspects of just the characters themselves, and really wouldn't know that until more recent, as we saw that the needle didn't move, that nothing had changed, and so little had changed when the film came out. A year later, Brokeback Mountain came out, and that's when suddenly LGBTQ themes in films suddenly started to catch fire. And we were the year before, so I felt like we were just ahead of it.
Interesting. Really fascinating. How was it, just speaking about Swoo, how was that experience? How did you both come to know her? How was the casting process?
Long. Very, very, very long. I mean, Michelle can say more about her experience, but I will say that mine was so long that by the time I was cast, which wasn't officially until right before maybe a week before we started filming, I had had the script for so long that I knew everyone's part. Because it was the first movie I had ever done, so it was the first script I had, and so I was like, this is what you do, you read a script. It takes 6 months, you memorize the entire movie, and then you shoot it. That's how you do it. And because of that, I feel like I really, as I was sitting here watching it, I was like, wow, I feel like I just got like a film school experience through Alice, because I knew not only every single line, but she really brought us through everything that she wanted to do. She gave us the reasonings behind why she was going to be doing a certain shot or why she chose certain words. She really loved her words. Like, she's not a director you can just improvise with. She's just like, say my words. And because of that, you know, I really got into the thought process of this brilliant filmmaker who, you know, I just directed my first film a few years ago, and because of Alice, I feel like, you know, she was the first person I saw do this. So she really set up, you know, she set the bar high, but she also showed me the way of how to translate something from script to screen.
For sure, awesome, thank you for sharing.
For me, the casting process was that I had known Teddy Z, who produced this movie. Teddy was part of Will Smith's production company, and he was able to find financing for the project. He had seen my solo show, which was called Made in Taiwan, and he approached me about this role and said, you know, you're gonna have to win the role with Alice. And the thing I did not have at the time was the ability to speak Mandarin fluently. And Alice at the time wanted someone who was bilingual. And I was pretty much winging it for a while, and then I think, you know, I went in and read, and then I flew to New York and was going to meet Alice, and I remember asking who's gonna be in the room, because I knew I was gonna speak some Chinese. And I just wanted to know, like, you know, how serious it had to be. And the casting director said, it's gonna be just you and Alice, and I was like, oh, that's great. She goes, she speaks fluent Chinese. So it was a good audition, but the news was she really thinks your Chinese is terrible. And Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon had come out, like, you know, just prior to that. And she really wanted this film to hold its authenticity in terms of language, and that film got excoriated because the Chinese actors spoke Mandarin with not great accents. So I think she was very conscientious of that. So I ended up flying to Taiwan 2 times, immersing myself before I even got the part in trying to study Mandarin. And this was as good as it could get. And luckily Alice changed her concept of the role so that it became Chinglish with Joan's character, so that we would speak more like an ABC child would speak with her mother. So you sometimes heard her speak in English, sometimes in Mandarin, and so she did change that for me.
Awesome. I thought it was amazing. So thank you for sharing that. One more question before I pass it to the audience to get your questions ready, if anyone has any questions. There's so many layers of representation here, which you both already kind of touched on, just Asian American representation. We have a lot of intergenerational kind of themes going here, as well as seeing an older woman pregnant, in a relationship with a younger man. There's a lot going on here. What have you two seen in terms of projects on the horizon? What do you want to see more of? What are some themes that you think could even be touched on today?
Well, I think the needle has moved, and it's really exciting. I used to sit up here on a lot of panels, and I would say that, and I would be kind of being hopeful, but honestly it hadn't. And I've been doing this for quite some time now, so I've been in that place where I was just trying to be the champion of change, and I can say that the conversation is in the right place, or at least having it. And so, you know, now I don't even know if I would have the chance to play a gay character, because I feel there's now a real commitment to having and giving opportunity to people, you know, authentically, and I think that's a great place to be in. So I'm so grateful that I have this and that I got to be part of Alice Wu's filmography, because now she's, you know, she's blowing up. I mean, she's always been amazing in my book, but you know, she made, oh my God.
The half of it.
The half of it. I was gonna say the better half, which I know is not half of it. And you know, she's an amazing filmmaker, and she makes films because she wants to make films, which is amazing because she's not derivative at all. And I think the change that's taken place for API, I would say, has been significant. So I don't know if I ever thought I would say that and be sincere about it, but I think it has taken place.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Did you want to answer?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, and I will also add, you know, I would be interested in seeing more Asian American stories that have nothing to do with being Asian American. Like, I think these types of movies have served a place in our history, cinematic history, but I would love to just see more movies with lots of Asian American people in them, not being ashamed of their culture or having clashes. Well, they should have clashes, then it would be very boring. But I feel like there's room. And I feel like that's where we're heading, but we're not quite there yet.
And then I'll throw it to the audience. Any questions? Yeah, right here. Yeah, you can just stand.
I
and-
can just, okay, cool. First of all, I just wanted to tell you that I can think enough saving face. I'm currently in school to be a therapist, and there's a form of therapy called narrative family therapy, where basically the stories we see on screen literally orchestrates our lives. So thank you for being our template. Like, I just really wanted to highlight that, and I hope you know that. So thank you for telling a different story, that we all deserve a full and happy life. So, and now for the less emotional part. And I'm gonna make all the Spotify lesbians happy. This one's for you. So what I feel like the process during that time in 2004, you kind of didn't have a reference much of like women on screen, like loving women. So is there a particular song or literature that you reference to, that help you internalize your character? Sorry, that's a lot, sorry.
No. I don't think there was a particular song. Sorry.
Really, you were listening to your Walkman on an awful lot.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, whatever it was, your Discman. Your iPod.
I think I had a CD player. I was holding it up. I think it was an iPod, right? Yeah. I don't remember. Listen, I took everything from Alice. I stole Alice's character, and what you see is Alice.
Her posture.
Her posture, the way she walked, the way she talked, her contained ability to speak a certain way. I actually think I got her pretty damn good.
Yes, every time I see a wide shot of you crack, I'm like, there's Alice! There she is.
Alice never knew either. She never noticed. Everyone else could see it, but she couldn't see it. I don't remember. I wish I do listen to a lot of music, but yeah, I don't remember.
What's funny is that, you know, in particular, that cat power song during our sex scene, people are always asking me about that cat power song, which is gorgeous. And Alice did not let us know what she was planning on doing with the music. I don't know if she knew, although she did know about the Love is Strange cover. I feel like she fought really hard for that.
Love is Strange.
She played for you?
Yes.
She played for me?
Maybe she didn't.
A while ago.
I can't remember.
I didn't hear it.
I just remember that her choice of music to me still kind of, it makes me fall in love every time.
Yeah, the music is beautiful in this. Great question. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yes, so I wondered if there was a most memorable day on set when you guys were filming Saving Face, or if there was a very challenging scene or a very challenging day that you
my most memorable moment on set.
Every day was
I was
challenging.
gonna say, well, maybe not challenging, but I remember every moment of I even remembered when you show up at the place and they open the door and you could see the flowers. I remember them putting a sandbag behind the door because I kept pushing the door and it kept flinging open, and they're like, get her a sandbag, and I was like, what's a sandbag? It was so exciting for me being on that set, and every moment was so. It was challenging and was memorable as that first day when we were losing the light and Adam kept going back and forth trying to get us those hot dogs from the microwave on the Crafty, and he was like running down, and Alice was like, they're gonna eat them cold, like just go, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe we have to eat these cold hot dogs. I remember that.
I don't remember that. I remember us
Moment not
losing light.
remembered.
What's that?
Another moment of not remembering.
Yeah, she remembers everything.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
incredible. She tells me how I was thinking that day. We're really like a couple. Like we after that period of time, we actually went out on the subway, and there were actually fans who thought we were still together.
We were with our partners, our male partners, and everyone was like pushing on the side. You going to Queens? You going to Queens to see Mom?
It's true. It was challenging for me. When I look at this, I think about honestly how much pressure it was for me to try and do well. And I see myself now as a more mature actor, and back then how hard and how much I wanted to show up for the work. And I can see that desire, because we were so much the first, and how our film did determined whether other films like us could get a shot. And so there was a lot of pressure, and every time I felt like, we don't have the time, and because it was the budget that it was, and granted, it was actually not a bad, we weren't a chaotic set at all, it was a very organized set. But given that every time I shot, I always got one take and you got 10 takes.
That's not true. That's not true.
I was always so jealous, like, why does she get so many takes? No, it was just we had a blast. We ate a lot, we joked a lot. There was a point where the costume designer was like, stop eating.
They moved
guys."
Crafty further and further from set so that we couldn't just wander there.
Yeah.
Does it ever get easier to see yourself on camera, on screen?
Oh, I love seeing this. This is
Yeah,
very
I like
easy.
seeing this one. We're so fresh-faced.
But you know what's funny, and I'm just going to share this because I'm just being honest. It was very hard for me to watch myself this movie when it first came out, to see my face, throughout the entire film, and to see the perception of an Asian face. I was still very much struggling with how to see myself in the world, which is what this character's about. So it's really interesting to see now how mature I've come, and to think about what I used to think of myself when I saw this movie, and to now know where we've come in terms of seeing Asian faces on screen. So it really, for me, moves me when I see it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, amazing. Any other questions? Right over here.
I have a question. So, what really sells this is the chemistry between you two. I just want to learn a little bit about, on set, did you have like a chemistry read? How was it when you first met? Did Alice do any exercises with you to kind of get your chemistry a certain way? Like, tell us a little bit about like your meet cute.
Michelle, you want me to tell the story about how I stalked you?
You tell the story. I'm
Yeah.
Or social media.
Well, this was pre-social media, but we did have Alta Vista. When it was our Yahoo. Yeah, exactly. It's the Google of the day. I was not cast until right before we began shooting, so Michelle was already cast. And I knew who she was, and we were going to have our chemistry read together for one of my final auditions. And I remember looking her up, and I saw that she was in Pumpkin, a movie that was at Sundance, and there she was in her little coconut bikini. And and I was like, okay, all right, I gotta gotta look like I'm in love with this woman. And I just looked up every wire image photo of you there was, so that when I showed up, I was like, hey, and you were like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. You didn't know who I was, but I knew who you were. So I felt like that probably added to the chemistry, you know?
I've heard this story before, but I like how she tells it again and again. Alice said we always had great chemistry. That was why she cast us. And also she felt you looked a little bit like Joan, is what she told me.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So, yes, Lynn and I, we have great chemistry. And Alice specifically said she thought she could see us as friends, and we are indeed still friends to this day. So I think Alice always has a very good sense for casting. I think she has a very intuitive sense about actors when she puts them together. So I really attribute it to Alice.
Totally.
Yeah.
The ultimate chemistry reader. I'm seeing, what is it, art mirror reality here with the stalking, and then you didn't know about that. I love this. Any more questions?
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier how reception was initially very warm, especially with the LGBTQ community. Was there any reaction from like the Asian community about seeing, like Asians, yes, but like also very gay on screen?
Mm.
There really wasn't an Asian community back then. It was very, it had not found itself, which is what we were trying to do, is we were trying to say, hey, let's become an audience so that we can prove to advertisers that we're out here, because that's what sells tickets. And I can say that we now feel like we have a community, but back then I don't want to speak for you, but I think in Los Angeles there was definitely a community, but I don't know if that community existed outside of this city and the pockets that we have here because of the arts. So I can't say the Asian community showed up for us. Can you?
Better Luck Tomorrow came out the year before us or right before us, and I remember hoping that we would feel the love the way that everyone was like, get to the theater and go see BLT, and I was like, what's that? It sounds like a sandwich. But everyone did, I felt like.
Yeah.
And for us,
oh no,
well,
no,
that didn't happen.
Did you think it was because of the subject matter, or?
I don't know.
I think it was because, it's press. Listen, we went to San Francisco. Now, San Francisco was a different deal. Like, they showed up for us. We sold out the Castro. It was an incredible screening. I think people were practically clapping at all the jokes. I think they were just dying for something, and the fact that it was so good. In those contexts, I'm looking at you, in those contexts, we were supported. So I don't want to say that we weren't supported, but I'm talking more nationally. More on a broad level in terms of the way we rolled out this film. I don't know if we felt like there was a larger API community at that time. And for the gay community, I feel like that's more Alice's, that would be more her spot in terms of talking about that. I'm talking to you, keeper of knowledge.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
I would say that she would probably think that it was a very warm reception.
I see Alice right now going, no, Michelle. No, I feel Alice in the room. She wishes she was here. She's shooting in Brooklyn in a tunnel. She told me to tell you guys.
Any other questions? Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
I just wanted, my favorite scene is like the pretend falling scene, and I wanted to hear more about that. Like, did they bring someone in to teach you how to pretend fall and practice beforehand?
His name was Manny, right?
What's that?
Manny, the stunt coordinator.
Oh, someone was there, huh?
Yeah. I remember seeing on the call sheet, stunt coordinator. I was like, who's that for? And they were like, you. And they put padding on I remember I wore knee pads. You didn't wear knee pads?
No, I could fall.
And the trick is to fall from knee to hip to shoulder. And that's how I did it. And then she did it, but she didn't have to do it gracefully.
She attending.
I probably did get a lot of takes. But I remember, yeah, we had a stunt coordinator, and then I continued to see his name on every New York film that ever was from the year 2005 to 2015. Every single time I saw that, I was like, he taught me how to fall. Even though he was like probably teaching like Robert De Niro how to jump off buildings.
I forgot about Manny. Sorry, I'm still stuck on this, the gay question, because I do feel like they were sending us letters. I mean, I honestly feel like an honorary Asian because of this movie. And, I mean, I'm married now, but at the time, you know, I was having my fun.
This never came up in all the years.
You don't remember that one?
I'll tell you my
Interesting.
pronouns, okay? I'll tell you my pronouns now. I enjoyed myself when I was researching this movie.
Speaking of stunt coordination too, was intimacy coordination like a thing?
No, it was
No.
not.
Okay.
That was not-
That was
Intimacy
off the cuff.
was me and her trusting each other. Yeah.
Michelle really tried to cover the boobies.
I covered her boobs. Did you guys see during the
She
phone
really-
call?
she really-
I covered it with my chin too. I was conscientious enough for you. I mean, I think that it's a gorgeous love scene. The love scene is so beautiful.
Yeah, that was.
I'm so glad we did that. I remember at the time feeling like, oh, can we be in our bras? And Alice was like, no, we cannot have any of this sheet covering up. We cannot have these bras covering. Like, we have to show out and proud love scenes with nothing to hide, and I promise it will be beautiful. Yeah, well, because my mom had told me since I was very young, if anyone asks you to take their clothes off in front of the camera, you go. Get out of that room.
My mom told me to ask for money. You can get the money. I thought our bodies looked beautiful.
They did. I remember that underwear too. My underwear. I spent a long time picking out that underwear.
I did see this scene in Asia, and that was a little uncomfortable. I could feel the room, kind of the audience in Asia when I watched it. It was a little more tense and awkward over there.
God, yeah.
Oh, and Alice told me Will is aggressive in bed, so I was like, oh, okay.
You went with it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, Alice, let's see.
Got a question over here.
So I was curious if either of your parents had any opinions on you playing lesbians.
No, I don't think so. My father and mother were, like I said, they were okay with it. I don't think they even knew Alice was gay. I don't think it really occurred to them until I think I had to tell her that even after the film. Yeah.
Oh, my parents were just fine. It was the nudity that they had all the issues with. I remember telling my parents, having to like have a dinner with them and tell them that I was going to have to take my clothes off. But they were cool with everything else. They were really thrilled.
What was? Can we tell us more about that reaction of like?
Oh, well, basically, my mom had always said that the reason people shouldn't do nudity is because she loved Richard Gere until he showed his butt in American Gigolo. So when I went to go tell her that I was going to be doing this movie with Lynn Chen, she said, oh, she's great, except she directed that movie with Richard Gere, who took his clothes off, and then blah, blah, blah. And everyone at the table started laughing because they all knew what I was about to tell her. And then she realized I was going to take my clothes off, and she started laughing, and then it was like, oh, I guess it's okay. So everything was fine after that, and I was like, and she's gay, and she's like, great. So everything was fine after that. She brought it to her church. She brought the movie to her church.
Screening?
Yeah, well, she like went around with the DVD. Yeah, when the movie came out, she's very proud.
Love it. We got time for one more question.
Hi, thank you so much. It's so cool to see you guys like in real life because I feel like the chemistry is like right there. Like the chemistry from the movie is like the same. But I'm curious if there were any scenes that like came really naturally to you, either based off of like your personal experience, like growing up as Chinese American, or yeah, just anything that was like super easy for you. Because you mentioned Alice kind of dictated like every word. So yeah, were there any scenes that were like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know if any, you know, I'm so uptight as a person. So for me, just the ease of watching, you know, I think what came, I don't know how to answer this, go talk.
Well, I was gonna say my easiest scene was probably the scene where we're having dinner with Ma, because I remember during the table read, when everyone was speaking Chinese for the first time, and I was like, my script doesn't have Chinese on the side, and I don't know what to say, and I remember like fumbling through my Chinglish, and everyone laughing, and then Alice coming up to me and being like, that's what you're gonna say, don't change it. And I was like, shit, what did I do? And then when we filmed it, I remember just being like fumbling again, and her laughing and thinking it was great, and then her laughing made me comfortable, and it was less about trying to hit the comedy of the scene and more like, how do I say these lines in Chinese?
Which scene are you talking about?
I'm talking about the scene where I speak Chinese. What scene? Chinese. When we're having dinner with Ma.
Oh,
She has to
her
buy.
Chinese is so good. She's a singer.
Sure.
So her tones were like perfect. Well, meanwhile, I'm like listening to these Chinese lines over and over. I was having nightmares of these Chinese lines. But your Chinese was excellent, which was ironic. Yeah, no.
That was my easy scene. What was, you must have had.
No, you know, I was so stressed by the Chinese. Honestly, you don't understand how difficult it is to speak and act in a language that if you emote and the word is off, nobody understands what you're saying. So I was so conscientious of, you know, like, for those of you who don't speak Chinese, it's tonal. So when my tones were off, you know, I was, you can't be understood. So I was so stressed during this movie because of the Chinese. You know that letter? I had to say that letter maybe 1,000 times. And it was really the most stressful thing. It was a hard job. Okay, the thing that came easily was watching Alice. Watching Alice and watching her character, like for me that was a sweet spot. I like working with my body, and physically, I love physical humor. I don't get a chance to do very much of it. And it was just enough for this character. I'm gonna let you go from the answer now. I've ended.
Oh, thank you so much.
I think my husband is trying to ask a question.
I have one question.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, brace yourselves.
What are you women doing in your work now?
Thank you, honey.
What's going on?
Well, as I said, I directed a movie called I Will Make You Mine, which I wrote, started, currently streaming on Paramount Plus and all video on demand. I'm on Grey's Anatomy playing Dr. Michelle Lynn. Michelle Lynn. Don't think they're not saving face fans.
They're such saving face
Now
fans.
he's the doctor. Yeah, you know, when I was watching you, hold your
My
Mets,
cigarette? My
your
cigarette?
Mets.
Oh,
It's called the Mets.
okay.
I was noticing that it wasn't the fourth and the first, the thumb, and I was a little bit like, I don't know who that medical coordinator is. But your mask looked good.
Listen, I was like, just keep it right here. And I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
What are you working on?
I'm so proud of her. She's amazing. She's amazing. I actually, one of my actresses is here. I'm in the AFI directing workshop for women, and I think I have some fellow female filmmakers here. Maybe they didn't show up. Lou, did you guys? Okay, all right. April. So, I moved into writing and directing as well, and, I'm still acting, and I actually have a movie that's come out yesterday on Shudder. It's, called They Live in the Grave. If you have Shudder, go stream it. It's nice and, emotional and scary. But I'm really proud because I shot a short film during the pandemic called Fight, and my actress is here. She's in the back row. Stand up! Stand up! Her name is Krusiec, and she's playing a version of me as a teenager. So yeah. So we both. I think we're both very committed to the creative trajectory of increasing visibility in the API community. So I think that we bond on that part of it.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.
This was a great conversation, and I hope you all keep an eye out for these awesome new projects. And thank you so much, Viv.